Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We have some great news for you guys. The Zack Martin holdout is over as the Cowboys and Martin have agreed to a new deal, which ends Martin's holdout, gets him some more money, and prevents us from seeing Josh Ball out there at right guard as long as Zack Martin is healthy. Easy way in, I think, to answer here. So sound off, and we'll break down the player card, the contract details of that here. What is your excitement level over Zack Martin ending his holdout and the Cowboys getting a new deal done? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comments section. I'll give some shout outs here. I see 10s from Taco Eater, Chad, Double J, Eli Aaron, Way Riri, Zeno Sayin, Daniel Moriarty, Anna, Balls Eat, Johnny, Clark, Samuel says 100. Qatar Airways, 835 to 69. 10s from Eli Aaron, Alfredo Jones, Faulkner, Lone Wolf, a 5 is in there. Everything else is 10s from Kathy, Alfredo, Zachary, Jarny, Braden, Jay Boogie, Cowboy Execution, Desmond, Adele, Thomas, great name. Trevante Johnson, Bert, Gary, Robert, Ignacio, Deshaun Kennedy. News is like a 6. Alex G says 69. Leroy Pearson says 8. The Food Review says his professor broke the news, LMAO. Matt Martini says 10. Travis Alexander, LaRon McCurry, Chris Anderson, Scott Howard, Homer Nelson, Tennis Ball Smack My Nuts, Travis Alexander, Jack, 4 Stroke Bros, Will Marshall, Christopher Brown. It's all 10s across the board for Zack Martin. It is a new deal, technically speaking, for Martin and for the Cowboys. I think there will probably be some void years tacked onto it. We'll see what the actual nitty-gritty details are probably at some point tomorrow. But it is a 2-year, $36 million deal. After about $1 million in fines, he gets an additional $8.5 million from the Cowboys. So that's about 4.5, 5-ish, somewhere in that range, 4 and 4.5, basically, over the next 2 years. All of that's guaranteed. So a slight bump in pay to make Martin, I believe, the 3rd highest paid guard now in the NFL. That won't really prevent you from signing anybody. I mean, shoot, you've managed to extend Malik Hooker with no real impact on his salary cap hit this year, a small one next year. You've re-signed Trayvon Diggs with no real salary cap impact. So you should have still about, $15-ish million on your available in space. You got plenty of money from that standpoint. So the Martin deal is done for Dallas. We'll see if he plays beyond that contract. He is going to be 34 years old. Martin is, I think, worthy of being the exception to the rule of, he's got 2 years left, you don't want to redo it. Yeah, they kind of gave you a break. He gave you a long deal. The market's changed significantly. I'm happy to have Zack Martin back because I want to win football games right now. And having Zack Martin there makes it much easier to do so for the Dallas Cowboys. So I am very glad Martin is back as a member of the Cowboys organization. All right, folks, let's have some fun with the pinned comments on today's show. Pick an RB2 for me. Deuce Vaughn is DV after a very impressive opening night performance in week 1 of the NFL preseason. RD for Rico, maybe we've been having some more fun with had he not had a nice catch and run and then fumbled the football late in the game. And then Malik Davis, who actually got the start, but didn't really play all that well for the Cowboys, I thought, overall in that game. A little bit of a disappointing standpoint there. So get your votes in. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, MD for Malik Davis. I'll give some shout-outs here as well as these comments continue to flow in. I am not surprised that I'm sure neither is producer Chris. It is a lot of DVs for Deuce Vaughn in there. Maybe we'll just say type in 2 for Deuce in the future there. 80% going with Deuce Vaughn, 4 Stroke Bros, J Solo 9, Christopher Brown. I see 1 RD from Ray Cole. I see no MDs. Brent Workman, David Stoll says DV. In the pin poll side of it, by the way, 81% are going with Deuce Vaughn. 14% are going with Rico Dowdle. 5% with MD, and a handful of write-in votes at the moment for Ezekiel Elliott, which, okay. Did have a nice haircut. I would not be surprised if he signed at some point in the near future somewhere. That's probably not going to be Dallas. 81% going with Deuce Vaughn. I like it. I have no complaints about that one at all. All right, some more questions for you guys, then we'll get flowing into today's show. Will Kelvin Joseph make the roster? Y for yes, N for no. Get your comments in here in the comment section. Let's have some fun, by the way, Producer Chris. You're having a... So Zack Martin wears number 70, as I'm sure you guys all know. So every $7 or higher super chat, we'll do a beer cheers and take a swig to celebrate Zack Martin getting a new deal done with the Dallas Cowboys. 7 or higher. And every 70 total, we'll do a shot, which is a fun way to get the math going, because I'm not going to make it on a random Monday a $70 super chat. That's asking too much. So every $7 or higher super chat is a beer cheers, and every 70 total in supers is a shot. As for Kelvin Joseph, we'll spend some time on him. Anyone who's watched the show for a while now knows that I have been not nice to Kelvin Joseph. I wouldn't say wrong, but not nice to Kelvin Joseph. So when I said I thought he played pretty well, I think you guys know I'm not just being a homer there. I thought he actually played pretty well against the Jags. I thought that was one of his better performances as a Cowboy player, which again is a very low bar to clear with from that perspective. So get your votes in, Y for yes and for no. Our first super chat from a tennis ball smacked my nuts, $10. Cheers to you, my friend. I'll drink once we get it up on there from that perspective. That is from a tennis ball smacked my nuts. Cheers to you. There we go. Every $7 or higher super chat, we'll do a beer cheers for Zack Martin's new deal as producer Chris cracks open his behind the scenes. Every 70 total in supers. We still got some left. We drank a lot of this the past 2 days we were in the office. Probably a little bit too much. Just Barbara Hickey! $70! There's a shot. Zach is back. Everyone type BH in the comment section for Barbara Hickey. You want to do one too? I think for a 70, we should both do a shot. Man, I don't know if we're going to be able to... If we finish this, I don't know what we'll do. Cheers. Oh, let's get on screen some there too. There you go. Bottoms up. Woo! Thank you, Barbara Hickey, for the $70 super chat. And Mike Beasy and Carl Coleman and more. Everyone else typing in BH there. Someone said torpedo that bottle. Yeah, it was like here when we started in the Dolphins watch party, like here for the Cowboys, and I hung out a little bit later in the office after the game because I needed to there. All right, back to the Kelvin Joseph conversation here briefly. I thought he was better. Doesn't mean he's going to be a suddenly great corner, but I will take progress on that front. I'd rather have a tougher decision with Kelvin Joseph than like an easy decision of, hey, it's very clear he's not the guy, whatever, for this Cowboys organization. So hopefully that continues for more good play. But we'll see. I'm not saying I'm buying Kelvin Joseph yet as a player. We'll also look at some surprise cut candidates for the Cowboys, because there will be some tough decisions to be made, knock on wood, barring injuries. So name a player who you think could be a surprise cut for this Cowboys organization. Get those comments in. It's a $10 super chat from Cancel This. That's a beer cheers for Zack Martin. Says, nobody better than you, Tom. I do think Zack Martin's better than me, relative to our jobs. I think Zack Martin still has that there. But thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate that. Cheers to you. Some surprise cuts. I see Turpin, Boss Man Fat, Eric Scott, Malik Davis, Neville Gallimore, Jordan Lewis. Would Josh Ball be a surprise cut, though? I'm not so sure. Simi Fehoko, Neville Gallimore, again, Josh Ball, Gallimore, Turpin is in there again. Turpin, Simifahoko, Josh Ball, very common refrains in there. We will do my own list here later on in today's show with, I think, some names that you might be expecting and maybe some that you're not going to be expecting. Now, we have almost 900 people watching live right now. Producer Chris has set the number at 175 likes. It's a shockingly low number.
It was 100.
Yeah.
And then we got that pretty quick before we ever got to it, so I changed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be like 250 at minimum.
Okay.
Well, that's fine. It's fine. We'll get the show going earlier here. Like the video if you haven't already done so. The goal is always 50%. I'm not necessarily going to ask to go from 150 to 450 in a matter of moments there, but we should get to at least 250 likes on today's show. Helps tell YouTube that you like what we're doing, and it will allow us to continue to grow and expand and have more success into the future here on the Cowboys Report. So if you haven't already, like the video for us right now as Trevante, I'm not sure how the E is pronounced there, Mr. Johnson. Not really a surprise, but Ronald Jones. Do you want to do the two claps for his first ever Super Chat? So we have not done this before, but we'll try it. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 2 claps. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. First ever Super Chat for Trevante Johnson. Appreciate that. My friend and a beer, cheers to you as well. Massive Matt says Zeke got his 2016 haircut back. Bring him back. He did look a lot more like the guy, like haircut-wise, in terms of what he was at Ohio State. I wouldn't necessarily think that means it's like it's a reverse Samson. He cuts his hair and gets his power back. It would be kind of funny, but I don't think that's how it'll end up being there. Another super chat from Thomas. Tom, what's going Downey carries Chat Sports. I appreciate that super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. Cheers to you here. I'm making one note. 18 million for Zack Martin. We knew that there. Apparently, there were some direct talks between Jerry Jones and Zack Martin. And maybe that's what got it done in the end. That certainly wouldn't surprise me as the Cowboys took their hardline stance and then, caved once again. 21 days of training camp missed, so it's about $1 million fine for Zack Martin to get an extra 8.5. You guys can do math. That's a pretty solid deal there. All right, here's what's coming up on today's live show. The latest Cowboys news and rumors headlined by the new deal for Zack Martin ending his holdout, a preseason preview against the Seattle Seahawks, a Cowboys mailbag. We'll answer all of your questions as they come in if you use #Cowboys or Super Chat, of course, and some surprise Cowboys cut candidates, all coming up live right here on the Cowboys Report. Today's show is made possible by RexMD. If you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, RexMD is here to help you guys out. You can get starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis. They are now available. You get 90% off, by the way, at rexmd.com/chat. Speaking of excitement, Zack Martin, his holdout is over with the Dallas Cowboys. The two sides, Dallas and Martin, and his agency and whatnot, have agreed to a new deal, ending Martin's holdout. Martin was due 13.5 or 14 and 14.5 million over the next 2 years. He now gets a new 2-year, $36 million contract. In total, it's about an additional $8.5 million in new money from the Cowboys over the next 2 years. So not a massive dent in their books. I mean, it'll cost them maybe an extra $4 million in cap space this year, somewhere in that range. If that, you had about 20 still because you didn't really make any changes with the Hooker-Diggs impacts in year one for their new deals. The new 2-year, $36 million deal makes him among the top 5 highest paid guards, should be third on that list now. Martin had taken on about $1 million in fines from the Cowboys to get that additional $8.5 million. So do the math, he's made about a new $7.5 million with this new deal. As the Cowboys, whether it was because the memes will be, hey, they watched one game of Josh Ball and went, oh no, but they've watched Josh Ball before. They knew that was going to be the case there. Martin returns as he continues to be one of the best guards in the NFL. His PFF run grade was surprisingly low last year. I think we would be of the mindset that the PFF grade was low, kind of fell off all of a sudden when Terrence Steele went down. My big issue with the run grades in particular is sometimes the numbers are a bit inflated or impacted by others, despite what PFF tries to do. I will also make note, sounds like there were some direct conversations between Martin and Jerry Jones as they get this deal done for the Cowboys. The Cowboys had 4 different players play reps on the interior of the offensive line at guard. Matt Farniok, and my issue with the grades, especially for like pass blocking stats, the run grade for PFF was 91.7. They said he did a great job in the ground game. The pass blocking grade was 32.4. The total PFF grade was 84.6. And he had more pass block snaps than run block snaps. I don't know about you guys. That math ain't mathing for me. I don't know how you get 91.7, 30.4 and get 84.6. That math is not mathing. I did think Austin Richards played pretty well, all things considered. Probably still needs some more time. Josh Ball he was fine in the run game. Continues to have major problems passing the game way too often. When there's a bad play, Josh Ball's back, he's turning the defense, and he's looking down at the quarterback. That's not a good thing. I think TJ Bass was actually pretty solid, mainly in the passing game. But none of those guys are Zack Martin. Now this can be your starting 5 when they're healthy. I think we know they're not necessarily going to be healthy every single game, and I doubt we'll see these guys play much, if at all, in the preseason because the Cowboys tend to prefer a rust over risk mindset, which I don't mind from that perspective. But Martin's back. Some great news today on the Cowboys Report. What is your excitement level over Zack Martin ending his holdout? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 at the pinned comment. The ad comes here on YouTube. That's fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Look, I, for one, am glad this is over. I didn't like not having a team captain, best guard there. Martin is worth the exception if you're worried about, we had to redo his deal. We had 2 years left. Martin's a Hall of Famer. Frankly, I think it's a little dumb and lame it took this long. I think he could have found a way to make it work. Now, maybe Martin was asking to be the highest paid guard in the NFL, and Dallas played some hardball there. But this is another example of the Cowboys saying, well, we don't have the money to do it. We can't make it happen. And then like a week later going, well, yes, we did have the money to make it happen. It's always been a posturing point from the Cowboys that they never really live up to there. This doesn't really impact the Cowboys' long-term books. They're fine. It will not limit the ability to pay other players. I am glad to have Zack Martin back because the alternative for this team was playing Josh Ball or somebody off the streets, and none of those ideas I was on board with. If you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom, you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life, well, you are not alone. So I'm excited to tell you guys about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers a discreet and easy way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's teams of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. If you're ready to take control of your sex life, say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90%, pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. It's rexmd.com/chat for the limited time deal. Injury news and notes now for the Cowboys. They had a mock game, so it was a walkthrough practice today, so nothing really of note from camp. Nashawn Wright, however, is dealing with a slight high ankle sprain. His terminology there from Todd Archer sounds unlikely, per head coach Mike McCarthy, that Wright will be able to play against the Seattle Seahawks, which is pretty disappointing. I thought he was fine in the Jags game. They're picking on other corners that aren't going to make your team. He missed a good portion of OTAs and minicamp. He's just kind of been nicked up a lot this offseason. He is fighting for a roster spot, so I'm disappointed he won't be out there. Will mean plenty of run for Eric Scott. Maybe they'll give some more Deron Bland outside corner reps in this one, and maybe some more Kelvin Joseph. Maybe he gets a chance on the outside. He's been playing nickel, though. Maybe that'll continue to be the case. Malik Jefferson, meanwhile, seems like he's avoided a major injury, a foot sprain in the plantar fascia area. As I totally flipped and read the first word wrong there. He has a shot to play against Seattle. McCarthy's always been a very cautious player or coach when it comes to player injuries, so I don't think you're going to have a scenario where Jefferson necessarily would make the team or be rushed into duty. Like, they'll be cautious there. I think Jefferson is a long shot to make the roster in the end for Dallas. There are better linebackers. Obviously, Damone Clark. I was really impressed by DeMarvion Overshown. Leighton Vander Esch, of course. Jabril Cox, Devin Harper, I think are still above Jefferson at this point. But we'll keep an eye on him, see if he's able to play moving forward. Now, the Cowboys play the Seahawks in Week 2 of the NFL preseason. So it is a feud week with our Seahawks channel, my guy Tyler Jones. I want to crush him in everything this week. Supers, likes, and the sub battle starts right now. This is based on the Sunday subs gained. We're at 99. We have the early advantage. I want to crush him. And in exchange for subscribing, you'll get free Cowboys videos. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button right now. Let's talk Kelvin Joseph now. Look, he, to be clear, is on the roster bubble for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, our Sports Illustrated said that Joseph didn't really do anything against the Jags, and they kind of ripped on him a little bit. And I have been plenty mean over the weeks and years and months about Kelvin Joseph. But I actually thought he played really well against Jacksonville. In fact, I thought that was one of the best games he's ever played wearing a Cowboys jersey, which I know is a very, very low bar to clear. He was targeted 3 times in that game, did not allow a catch. In fact, had a really great pass breakup where he got his hands up and played through the catch point and broke up the throw. I thought, again, low bar to be clear. I thought that was a good game out of Kelvin Joseph. He's kind of in the nickel corner role now. They're giving reps to Nashawn Wright and Eric Scott, and they think Deron Bland can play on the outside if they need him to there. Israel Mukuamu can be that nickel guy too. Jordan Lewis is banged up. There is no guarantee, to be clear, that Kelvin Joseph is going to make this team. But I do thought that game was a good step in the right direction for Boss Man Fat, who needs it. So prediction time. Will Kelvin Joseph make the roster? Y for yes, N for no. Get those predictions in, knowing there's still 2 games left to go, plus some other practices, etc., in the comments section. Y or N. We'll wrap up the rumors news portion of today's show with the Deuce Vaughn conversation. I thought he looked great in his first preseason game for the Cowboys. He was the Cowboys' most productive back on the ground and had a really nice, spinning, leaping catch that, by the way, I did get to catch some of the All-22 of that. That throw from Will Grier, if it's on the money instead of high, in part because of the pressure, it's a walk-in touchdown from Deuce Vaughn on an angle route. I love to see it. My proposal here is, look, Deuce Vaughn ran against the backups, which you're going to get for the most part in the preseason, but it was also the backups to a certain extent. I would like to see him play with what I'm going to call the starting backups, where you're not going to play your starters, but your 2s, as opposed to maybe some of your 3s out there against the Seahawks. Tony Pollard's not going to play. I don't know why he would. Rico, Dowdle, Malik Davis got the first half work. They basically had Deuce Vaughn out there for 2 drives, and we're like, he got his work, he's good. And that's what happened for Deuce Vaughn. It was 2 drives. He had the 50 yards and on the ground and 6 yards through the air. I was very impressed by Deuce Vaughn. I want to see more of him for the Cowboys in the preseason moving forward. So pick an RB2. Hunter Lipke, I would like to put him back on this list next week, but I think there's a clear tier gap right now. So pick one. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, or MD for Malik Davis. Get those votes in the comment section. Deuce Vaughn was super impressive. 8 carries, 50 yards, a 6.3 average. We do have some great advanced stats here, by the way, from our friends over at PFF. Yards after contact per carry was 5.38 for Deuce Vaughn, which was not quite, but almost the combined numbers of the next 2 highest players, Hunter Lipke and Rico Dowdle. Malik Davis didn't do much in that game. He was kind of bottled up. I thought he just kind of ran straight too much. Dowdle was playing well, had the nice forced missed tackle, but he also had a bad fumble there. Deuce Vaughn had 3 forced missed tackles. He and Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis both had 1 pass protection opportunity. No pressure allowed, so they got graded out well there. Malik Davis, the PFF dinged him for the blitz up the middle. I don't know if that's really his fault, but they did blame him for that, and that's a bad grade. Lipke was fine in that area, but he kind of got some late fourth quarter work, so I wouldn't read too much into it in the end. I think Deuce Vaughn right now, pretty clearly, should get a bigger role for this Cowboys team in this upcoming preseason game. The news of the day, the Zack Martin holdout is over as the Cowboys and Martin have agreed to a new deal ending the holdout. He gets a new 2-year, $36 million contract. That is not all new money. It's about an additional $8.5 million on top of what Martin was going to earn from the Cowboys. So after about $1 million in fines, Martin is now back with the Dallas Cowboys. So rate your excitement level. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Get those votes in for me in the comments section. We'll give some shout-outs here. As a reminder, every $7 or higher Super Chat's a beer cheers. Every 70 total, I meant combined. We had a $70 Super Chat come in though already, so we both did a shot. Every $70 total is a shot, all in celebration of Zack Martin's return here. No surprise, I see a lot of 10s in the comments section. Alan, Jonathan, Valentino, Thomas, etc. there. So, 9.99 from Chris B. You know what? We'll round up and call it a 10. Some super chats here from Gimli21. Just so everyone knows, Tony Pollard was the second best pass protecting back in football last year. He was also statistically better in short yardage than Zeke. Pollard also did grade out higher than Zeke in pass protection. He was more efficient in those third and short and fourth and short situations. I think we all have the memory of the 2 first and goal, second and goal, Pollard couldn't score. Third and goal, Zeke does. I think that was kind of fried into our brains. But over the course of the season, yeah, Pollard was more effective. I also saw, by the way, despite him being super small, I saw Deuce Vaughn turn a loss of 2 into about a 6-yard gain when he spun away from 1 defender. That was something Zeke was really good about, turning losses into positive gains. Saw a nice one there from Deuce Vaughn. From Sam, hey, time to get my shipping info. I was, Sam. That's taken care of. I'll get those, the 2 helmets from our watch party shipped out as soon as possible. I'll have to get the second one in and sign it, so that one will be a little bit more delayed. And then the Olivia onesies as well I'll have to order too, which the wife was not too happy that they're going to be number 69, but I committed to it, so we're going to do it in the end. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. All right, will the Cowboys win a preseason game this year? I don't know what the Seahawks' plan is going to be in terms of their philosophy, who's going to play this upcoming game, etc. They played a lot of Drew Lock last week. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. You know, it was Drew Lock and some guys no one's heard of. Jake Bobo, maybe you've heard of there. Jackson Smith and Jigba got some run last week. If they play the starters, it'll probably be in this game, but I wouldn't assume they do. Will the Cowboys win a singular preseason game? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Get those comments in. Darnell Bryant says 1. 71 Cowboys says 1. Oracle says 0, but do not care if they do, which is correct, by the way. It doesn't really matter if the Cowboys win or lose the preseason. It's all about focusing on a variety of individual performances, where if they can have some success, awesome. That will lead to very positive things moving forward. You're focused in on certain players, certain matchups, less on the win-loss outcome of the particular game. So it's a good question, a good comment, I should say. Get your votes for the question in, 1 for yes or 0 for no right now in the comments section. We will be live once again for the Cowboys versus Seahawks game, a watch party. The first preseason watch party was the best preseason watch party in company history. Thank you all so much for that. It's going to be a late night game. I hope you guys stay up. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the Cowboys Report. It is a preseason Week 2 matchup. We'll preview it, what to watch for here. The Cowboys on the road against Seattle. Can't wait to post that Dak Prescott playoff highlight against Seattle. It was one of my favorite memories of recent Cowboys memory. Not that there's been too many to be super hyped about there. Dallas on the road. We'll see who plays for Seattle. That's still a bit uncertain as we sit here filming this early in the week. But I would expect once again the Cowboys to prefer rust over risk, meaning, yes, if you don't play your key offensive players, your top guys, they might be rusty for a half or even longer than that for a little bit in the first game. That's also, I believe, the bubble wrap approach is more valuable than, well, we put out the quarterback when we were playing one starting lineman and he got a concussion. Like, I don't want to have that risk. So I think that is the right route for the Cowboys. Frankly, if you were to power rank like their top 30 players, I think a handful of them would have been out there. It was Jake Ferguson played really well back in Week 1. Damone Clark played. I thought he was pretty impressive, relatively speaking. Deron Bland was in a tough matchup, got some good reps against like Calvin Ridley. Osa Odighizuwa played like a handful of reps there. Dante Fowler played a decent amount because they needed bodies for edge rushers. Those are your best guys out there. Notice they were kind of all defensive players, young defensive players. I think we'll see more of the same this week where it'll be a lot of Cooper Rush, a lot of Will Grier, probably all backups on the offensive line. Maybe another starter gets to play some, but it's going to be a backup-focused affair for the Dallas Cowboys. So with that in mind, who you got? C for the Cowboys, S for the Seahawks. Get those votes in for me in the comment section. It's C for the Cowboys, S for the Seahawks. It is the pinned comment, by the way, on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, C or S. All right, what to watch for? Number 1, the interior offensive line. The good news is it's no longer about, well, you don't have Zack Martin. He's got a new deal. He's back with the Dallas Cowboys. Huzzah for that. But much like Week 1, who's going to be out there? It's not going to be Tyron Smith. It's not going to be Zack Martin. It's not going to be Terrence Steele. And at that point, what's the benefit of Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz being involved with the offense? It probably makes more sense to just keep those guys out there, or off the field, I should say, from that perspective. So that means more of Matt Farniok, more of Brock Hoffman, who I thought were up and down in Week 1. Thought Josh Ball was up and down, especially in the passing game, more downs there. I want to see a step forward from Matt Waletzko. We will see if Chuma Edoga is healthy. Hopefully, I'd like to see him out there a little bit. Maybe some more TJ Bass. Earl Bostic was okay. Alex Taylor was fine. I thought Awesome Richards actually played pretty damn well for the Dallas Cowboys, relatively speaking. Kind of got with some second tackle and guard reps. So I want to see more of those guys. And being able to see how they do in the rewatch, the condensed versions, etc., does matter as well. Now, you can bet on this game by going to chatsports.com/bet. That takes you right into the BetUS site. When you use promo code Cowboys125, they will give you a 125% deposit bonus. So $100 down, boom, an extra $125 for free. That's chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Cowboys125. The early odds, which again are subject to change, Seattle's a 5.5-point favorite in a preseason game. I don't mind taking the Cowboys plus 5.5. I mean, they'll be competitive, as I think we saw last week. If it hadn't been for the Nathan Rourke miracle score, maybe Dallas does win that game. Over-under is again low, 38.5. You want to bet on the preseason? Do it with our sportsbook partner, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Cowboys125 for a 125% deposit bonus with BetUS. Number 2 thing to watch for is Deuce Vaughn. You won't believe me, by the way, but I did not intentionally make number 2 Deuce. I realized that in the moment, but that's perfect. I was very impressed by Deuce Vaughn in his first appearance as a member of the Cowboys. 8 carries, 50 yards, couple nice forced missed tackles, 6.3 average, 1 touchdown as well. I really thought that was a very quality performance out of Deuce Vaughn. He had a great catch that should have been a score before the eventual rushing touchdown too. I thought Deuce Vaughn was the best running back on the field for Dallas because Pollard, of course, did not play. He is in a battle for the true RB2 role. And I think, again, pass protection will matter. Also, just run the swing pass, run the angle route, and you're fine. Dowdle, I think, is your better pass protector than Malik Davis. Dowdle had a nice catch and run, but also had the bad fumble. I was underwhelmed by Malik Davis in a small sample size in that game. This is a battle. Hunt Lipke is behind those 3 guys right now. So pick an RB2. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, or MD for Malik Davis. DV, RD, MD. Get those answers in as to who you would want to have as the top backup to Tony Pollard for the Cowboys 2023 season. I'm going with Deuce Vaughn myself. All right, takeaway or what to watch for, number 3. How about some KaVontae Turpin redemption time? Turpin is getting more involved on offense. He had a nice catch in the game, by the way. But you can't be fumbling punts, which he had some issues with that last year. That was a bad turnover there. The Cowboys haven't had a chance to give Deuce Vaughn that many reps in games, of course. He didn't field the 1 punt. It's also very rare for a team to have 2 of the smallest players at their respective positions on the same team. CeeDee Lamb's going to make this roster. Brandon Cooks is going to make this roster. Gallup will. I think Jalen Tolbert's a lock too, by the way. Then that wide receiver 5 spot, 6 spot. Is it Brooks? Is it Fehoko? I don't think Turpin's quite a lock, even though I would keep him because he brings you some speed, and I'm fine going a bit smaller when you have other viable options ahead of those guys. But I didn't think the Cowboys would give him a return in the first game. Now I want them to do it in the second game because I want to see him redeem himself and remind everyone of why he was so good on returns last year, despite leaving some meat on the bone. What to watch for, number 4. How about the linebackers in this particular game? We saw some really good things. Van Der Esch, of course, did not play. Damone Clark and DeMarvion Overshown, I thought both played great in that first preseason game. Overshown's been getting the green dot in practices, which is he was breaking down the huddle, which are 2 things you don't see from a third-round rookie. That's very uncommon. I think speaks to, I remember that level of expectation is very uncommon. It reminds me of what the Cowboys did last year with Tyler Smith. They just threw everything on his plate and said, let's see if he can sink or swim. And he was out there, doing the breaststroke and the butterfly all at once. And I think Overshown is kind of having some similar stuff, where in the game itself, too, I wasn't in Texas, I thought he was guessing a lot. He was kind of just guessing, getting out of position there. Wasn't the case for Dallas. So I love what I saw from Overshown. Some flashes from Devin Harper. And I want to see some more out of course, my guy, Jabril Cox. It's a thin linebacking core since Isaiah Land was really an edge rusher in that first preseason game. I want to see what the usage is in the second game. Score prediction time for me in the comments section. What do you think the final score will be of the Cowboys-Seahawks preseason game? Get those answers in for me in the comments. What to watch for, number 5. Who's going to step up this time around at safety? I doubt you'll see Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, and Malik Hooker. And this might sound like hyperbole, but I cannot recall a time in which the Cowboys safety room was as good and as deep as it is right now. You've got 7 players who I think are legitimately worthy of a roster spot or at least a priority practice squad spot. Now, I don't really remember some of your prime Darren Woodson years, like the way, way, way back when he first joined. But even then, I think the 2, 3, 4 spots weren't the same. Love your top 3. In the game against the Jags, your other 4 safeties. Marquise Bell had 10 tackles. He played a lot in that game. Tyler Coyle had 4. I'd say he's the 4th of this group despite that. Israel Mukuamu, who was kind of coming back from injury still a little bit, I don't think had his best stuff, but he offers you some great positional flex, and I think he's best as a corner. And that's just me. Wanye Thomas at the INT, a pass breakup. He's pushing hard for a spot. You can't keep all these guys. Frankly, it's tough to keep even just 2 of them with the way the roster is built out overall. So I love the safety depth. Can't wait to see what happens in this next game. Those of you just now tuning in, the Zack Martin holdout is over. The Cowboys and Martin have agreed to a new contract. Martin now gets a 2-year, $36 million deal. Of that $36 million, about 8.5 of it is new money from the Cowboys. So a slight pay raise for Zack Martin as the drama is over and he's back with the Cowboys with plenty of time for week 1. And now we don't have to sleep in our night, just sleep restlessly with visions of Dexter Lawrence against Josh Ball dancing in our heads. Some super chats from Jason Vincent says, bring back the Redskins name. Not going to happen. When the majority don't like it, it's just not going to happen. Pretty straightforward. From CD's Nuts, I do love that one. Dumb question, why not Tyron to left guard like an aging corner goes to safety? Not a dumb question. I think just the change from corner to safety, it doesn't happen as much as it used to. It also didn't really help out Richard Sherman. It does happen for some linemen. Tyron's a really big guy. You could almost argue too big for left guard. But historically speaking, there's some good evidence of position change along the offensive line can lead to more injuries. For an injured guy, I don't want that. So I think the Cowboys are going to stick with what Tyron has played for so long in his NFL career. Abjapawar, do you think that MD or DV, that's Malik Davis or Deuce Vaughn, would be good receiving back options for Dak, similar to James White, Shane Vereen were for Brady? I mean, I definitely think Deuce Vaughn can be that guy. Man, Shane Vereen is a throwback name. I've thought about him in a long time. I don't know if Malik Davis has quite the same pass catcher, but I think Rico Dowdle might be a better pass catcher, frankly. But Deuce Vaughn, go watch that angle route he ran where he skies up for it. It was an awesome catch. So I do think Deuce Vaughn can be a good pass-catching back for Dak Prescott, yes. Chris B., hyped Zack Martin is back, and it's behind us. Time to win, baby. You think we have Zack for just 2 more years, then he retires. I think these last 3 Super Chats are good to re-hit in the mailbag too, Producer Chris. I think your over-under is that 2-year time frame. I mean, by that point, he's going to be at his age 36 season. I got my pen, and I'll grab here in a second because I'm an idiot. I have a tough time seeing him playing that much longer. But let's wait and see. Like, if Martin's still playing at a high level, if his body feels good, maybe he does the whole, like, Jason Kelce, one more year thing. But I think that's a good, like, over-under for how many more years Zack Martin will end up playing. So what is your excitement level over Zack Martin ending his holdout? 1 to 10 in the comment section. I am certainly at a 10. I am glad it is now over and there's no more drama to deal with on that front there. I'll give some shout outs here momentarily too. 10, 9 from Andy, Gotham Guy, Ramiro, Rick, Savage, Lunatic, Red Hurricane, Ryan Kennedy as well. Let's see, 10, 3, 10, 10, 8, 10, 100. 11, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and more. Here, we can skip this next one and go into the mailbag one here, Chris. 1,000, Cody Cox, Jalen, Terrell Thomas, Gary Bookwalter, Dale Rice. A lot of positive numbers, which I think makes sense. Now, it is time for a mailbag. 2 ways to get on the show, and a reminder. Every $10 super chat, every $7 or higher super chat in honor of Zack Martin, 70.0, is a beer cheers. Every 70 total in super chats is a shot. We're about 12 away from 140. So haven't any of those in a while, but that's quite okay. Get your questions in via #Cowboys. That puts you in the queue for producer Chris to find your question and bring it up on screen. Otherwise, it just gets buried, especially when there's over 1,000 people watching live. It can be a little bit tough to find all of those questions there. But Qatar Airway 35, I see your question in there. Everyone else, if you have questions, get them in. Hashtag Cowboys, or if you want to guarantee your spot on the mailbag, simply do a super chat as we break down all of your questions here live on the Cowboys Report. This Cowboys mailbag is made possible by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping on all of their top-of-the-line men's grooming products when you use promo code COWBOYS over at manscaped.com. We have some super thanks to get to here from Mighty Ant 0215. All the super thanks came in before before the news of Zack Martin's deal, so keep that in mind here. He's not hurt. He was just holding out, but the holdout is over, and we're all very excited about it. Andres Yabarvo, $5. Again, was before the preseason game. Says, let's get ready to rumble. The Huzz Bears are back. We had an awesome Week 1 preseason watch party. Hope to have you guys all back again as we will have a late night kick, 10 p.m. Eastern time kick. Make sure you guys are tuned in. John C. Hinkle just says, thanks. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. If you're going, what the hell is a super thanks? It's not a super chat. You're right, it's not. It is a way to donate outside of live videos. Anyone who does it, we will give you a shout out because we appreciate your support here at the Cowboys Report because you guys are the absolute best. CJ DeYoung III said, well said, really the offense and defense not running over each other. Background context here, I had said, you probably want in training camp the offense to win some and the defense to win some because that means you don't just have one bad unit out there pretty much. And that's what's been going on so far in camp. Offense wins some, defense wins some. It's a positive thing in the end for the Cowboys. So CJ DeYoung, thank you very much. From Joseph Rodriguez, I say call Gabe Burksick, hell of a kicker. Bursick's been on an interesting path. That is, he was really good at Oklahoma. You guys remember producer Sam? He loved it. But he had 2 chances last year. Vikings and Packers. Got cut from both. Has not been signed since then. I would suspect the NFL is not in love with what he is at this stage. That's not to say that Brandon Aubrey is the solution for the Cowboys at kicker, although he is the leader in the clubhouse despite missing an extra point in Week 1. So what do you think when it comes to the Cowboys kicker? Is Brandon Aubrey the answer and the solution this year? Y for yes, N for no. It is today's pinned comment. If the ad comes here on YouTube, cool. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. From CD's Nuts, dumb question. Why not Tyrant to left guard like an aging corner goes to safety? It does happen sometimes. Offensive line play, I think, tends to deteriorate more quickly than cornerback play. The safety play does. I remember like Leon Hall found a new career at safety with the Bengals a few seasons ago or many seasons ago. I think for offensive line, there is some correlation to new position equals injury. I kind of thought it was Zack Martin. It's just a different movement pattern, you know? I think the Cowboys have enough concerns about injury for Tyron Smith that adding another change maybe isn't the best thing for him. Abja Pawar, I think that Malik Davis or Deuce Vaughn would be good receiving back options for Dak like James White, Shane Vereen were for Brady. I definitely think Deuce Vaughn can be that guy. I would like to see Rico Dowdle, based on what we saw in the first preseason game, get some more chances there too. Plus, he's a pretty good pass protector, relatively speaking, to other backs across the NFL where it's kind of bad. That's why a lot of them just run routes. It's easier. I'd say Dowdle, maybe. Vaughn, absolutely. Davis, I need to see a little bit more. Chris B. Hyped Zack Martin is back and it's behind us. Time to win, baby. You think we have Zack for just 2 more years, then he retires. Wouldn't be surprised. I think 2 years is a good over-under figure for Martin. His contract would be up. He'll have some dead money at the back end, but that's not a big deal because you do it with everybody and then you don't ever have to pay it. Just pushes out in the future forever. I think that's a good over-under. Wouldn't be surprised. Let's see how he plays, though. If he keeps playing well and the Cowboys are close, maybe he'll keep running it back kind of like Jason Kelce has for 1 more year. $5 for Brett Stevens. How come the talking heads didn't call out Trevor Lawrence pick like they would Dak? It's the Jags. No one cares. Trevor Lawrence was the first overall pick. He's really good. Everyone knows that because he's the first overall pick. That's how it works. There's assumed talent that goes on being a top pick. And if you look at the way some QBs are treated, the most common theme is where they were drafted. They tend to get a little bit more hate if they were drafted later than they were early. It's also why Sam Darnold is on shot number 4, despite never being good in the NFL, and will somehow be good for Shannon. It'll break my heart again. But look, there's a double standard to get to the nitty-gritty here, and it's unfair to Prescott and other quarterbacks around the NFL. Today's show is made possible by Manscaped. You guys can get 20% off and free shipping on everything Manscaped makes, including the Performance Package 4.0, the Lawnmower 4.0, the best when it comes to men's grooming products. That's manscaped.com, promo code Cowboys for 20% off and free shipping. The Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker 2.0, ball conditioner, ball deodorant as well, because it can get a little bit smelly up there, can definitely get a bit smelly downstairs. Manscaped.com, promo code Cowboys. Oh, and also the most comfortable boxers known to mankind. The link for that is in the comments section, and it's also in the description of today's show. $2 from DeLunatic. Austin Richards, possibly our backup left tackle, DC for life. We'll see. I was impressed by him in that first game. I think he needs some more time. I think in reality, Tyler Smith is your backup left tackle, but I bet Richards makes this team. From Matthew, is Donovan Wilson going to be ready for week one? We had the injury in the beginning, wasn't sure about him. The initial timeline should be good to go for week one. We're not going to see him in the preseason. I'd say check in 2 weeks with where he's at. If you see him start getting some cord work and some one-on-one work and stuff, means he's making progress. It's August. He's a veteran. He's on a second deal. He's a veteran now. You don't need to rush him back. So I think they'll be patient, but I bet he plays week one. CD's nuts. Turpin versus Mifeoko. Brooks no-show. Brooks was quiet in that first playoff game, or preseason game, excuse me. Some miscommunications there. I don't know if it was a bad throw from Will Grier that was behind Brooks a few times, if Brooks ran the wrong route or what. Turpin had the fumble too. I think all three guys fighting for 2 spots right now. Let's see what else happens. I thought Feoko played better, but he's still got to show more than just some quick underneath easy stuff too. From Dylan, would you trade for Jonathan Taylor? I mean, Deuce Vaughn's better. Kidding. Taylor's better. But the Colts and Taylor having this weird, he's hurt. No, he's not. He's hurt. No, he's not. He's injured. It's just a weird thing. He wants a massive contract, and I'm not interested in giving Jonathan Taylor a, $13 million per year deal when I'm paying Tony Pollard too, and the Colts want him back to win football games. He's a great runner, don't get me wrong. So was Zeke when the Cowboys paid him, and that deal kind of blew up in the Cowboys' faces. So I would not be surprised if the Cowboys found a way to add a veteran back. It's not going to be Ezekiel Elliott, but I don't think a big name like Taylor is going to be the option there. All right. The Cowboys running back depth chart right now sits like this. It's Tony Pollard is RB1, Rico Dowdle is RB2, Deuce Vaughn is RB3-ish, 2A, 2B, 2C with Malik Davis in there. Taylor, you can argue, is better than anyone on that roster, maybe than anyone combined. But the opportunity cost of the investment contract-wise and the opportunity cost of just overall deal of trading for him, I don't think makes that much sense from that perspective. Would you trade for Jonathan Taylor? Sound off. T for trade, P for pass. Get your votes in for me in the comment section. What would you do? T for trade or P for pass? I'm saying pass myself. DeLunatic odds Dowdle is RB2 and Overshown is fire. I am hyped about DeMarvion Overshown right now. I was really impressed by him. I kind of want Deuce Vaughn to be RB2, but I put Dowdle as the favorite right now with maybe 40% chance, maybe a bit higher. So decent odds on that front. $10 from Carl Coleman. Cowboys will be good if Dak gets out of his own way. I'd say they'd be good if the receivers would just catch the football. They were also still really good last year. It's just, can you go from the 5th best team, the 3rd best team, to the 1st best team? Tough race to climb. You need Bucks playoff game, Dak, than the Niners one you've had the past few seasons. That is, by the way, Carl's first super chat ever here on the show. 2 claps for Carl. Close enough there, Chris. Hit that sub button if you haven't already as we approach 159K, damn near 1,000 new subscribers from the Watch Party preseason week 1 alone. Thank you all so much. If you haven't already and you want free Cowboys videos every single day, hit that sub button right now, right here on the Cowboys Report. Turner Boys by Dak Prescott. Do you agree if the Dak played in all 17 games last year, CeeDee would have finished top 3 in receiving yards? I think he would have been close to it. A lot of really good players. I will say this too. I think Lamb on his own took some more steps forward. Just in terms of like becoming a better player that more coincided with Dak return than like Dak alone elevating him. So I wouldn't be shocked by it. I promise you that. From Tyler, do you think DeMarvion can be like Micah 2.0? Both were a coverage linebacker in college, that was Patriots experience, but Overshown is explosive like Micah and a willing tackler. I would say for every player that you think can be the next Micah 2.0, you're just going to be disappointed. I think Micah is a unique player in the NFL who was the Cowboys didn't know he was going to be a star pass rusher. They didn't know that. They got lucky there. If Overshown can be a good linebacker, I'll be very happy. From Daniel Moriarty, I was concerned with the kicking situation last year in the Auburn Texas State. I don't think he's the answer kicker. I don't think it has much to do with the Texas native aspect. I think it comes down to, hey, can he be reliable for you? And if it's not, I think someone's going to get cut around roster cutdown time. That will be the solution there. Hell, maybe it's Jake Moody, who everyone wanted and missed his first 2 kicks for the 49ers. From Peter, which rookies need to be the biggest difference maker to help push to? I think it just means which rookies need the biggest difference maker there. Look, I think in terms of making the next step forward, being a better team overall, ideally your early round picks, right? Mozzie Smith. I think he needs to make a bigger impact in not just being a run clogger as the year goes on. Be patient. I think he will get there. Anton Irwin, what rookie looked the best versus the Jags? I'm not going to say Deuce Vaughn, but yes, he's up there. 5 guys that stood out to me. DeMarvion Overshown, I thought played great. Looked way more confident in his reads out there. Deuce Vaughn, we've been hyped about him. I thought Isaiah Land played really well, drew a few holding penalties. John Stevens, the tight end, was really impactful, and if he keeps that up, maybe he forces his way onto the roster, potentially. And I thought Austin Richards was maybe your best offensive lineman in that game. So what rookie are you most excited about? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. What rookie, drafted, undrafted, early round, late round, whatever it is, what rookie are you guys most excited about? Sound off for me in the comment section right now. All right, we got some news, double news here, actually. Ezekiel Elliott has found a new team. He is with the New England Patriots, a 1-year, $6 million deal. You can wind back the clock to when we started the show and I mentioned maybe Zeke signs soon. There have been enough whispers that something was going to happen there for Ezekiel Elliott. Took some other visits secretly, by the way. But Elliott is now a member of the Patriots. So if you wanted Zeke, you can give up the dream. Zack Martin, though, in the big Cowboys news, is back. A 2-year, $36 million contract. After about $1 million in fines, he gets an additional $8.5 million from the Cowboys. Get your votes in. Send them over Zack Martin's holdout being over. 1 to 10. Scale it for me. I do owe a shot because we're at 140 and a $10 cheers for Carl Coleman. So let me shot and beer cheers. Shout out to Double J2288 and Michael Bradigan, who both put in the super chats. Zeke to the Patriots. We were mid-cut, that's why we didn't do it there. But Elliott is a member of the Patriots. 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. He'll be wearing number 15. I am very curious what the actual money looks like. The up to number, maybe it's 1 year, $3 million. I think that might be a bit fair there. Jorge Bautista. I think our round 1 pick was still a good pick. I am worried about our O-line. Do you think we should have got the guard from Florida or another guard or tackle? Well, I think if you wanted the guard from Florida, which I did, but I knew the Cowboys were not that high on him, I think your solution would have been to not take Luke Schoonmaker and instead take the guard from Florida. That's Osiris Torrance there. So I would have more issues with the second-round pick in terms of the Florida guard there. If you wanted a guard, it would have had to have been Matthew Bergeron, who went to the Falcons early round 2 instead of Miles Smith. The Cowboys liked him, but he went, I don't know if we would have liked that pick as much, despite it being a guard and having that spot taken care of there. So I like Mozzie. I'm not too worried about it. It's just going to take some time to be a fully developed player and not just a really good double-team machine. CD's nuts. In Gen Dev, reliable 5-year and kicker better than a 1-year rental. Wait, what does this translate to? In general, develop a reliable 5-year plus kicker better than a 1-year rental. I think that's what you mean. Someone made this really good point to me on Twitter the other day. A buddy of mine. His argument was kickers like the rest of the NFL. They need time to develop too. And I'm like, that actually does make sense. And why so many kickers get cut and then have more success elsewhere because they needed more time. But if you only have one of them, you don't have time to develop them in the same way, which is why you don't draft them, sign them later. Like Nick Folk, great example. Bad in Dallas to begin, has found time in his NFL career. So I love a young, cheap kicker. See if you found one with Brandon Aubrey or not. Andres Yabarvo, our defense could be number 1 this year. Thoughts? Yeah, absolutely could be. I would not be surprised if it was. That defense is in fantastic shape. Anthony, Zeke signed with the Patriots. I mean, look, we said for a while now he wasn't going to play in Dallas. That was highly unlikely. Now he'll get to be back in Dallas October 1st. So that'll be interesting on that front there. And I'm very curious how Zeke gets deployed by Bill Belichick. He loves Ramondre Stevenson, but I think that they're looking for some more inside running potentially, and maybe Zeke can be that guy. I will be cheering for him every game but one. Or if it impacts the Cowboys in some fashion, like where they need to lose or something, like at that point, yeah, I'll be cheering for him. But the big news of the day is that Zack Martin is back. His holdout is over. How excited are you? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comments section. We'll give some shout-outs here, by the way. I see 10. People talking about the tight ends. Yes, Darnell did get medically red flagged. Darnell Washington got medically red flagged by the Cowboys. They brought him in for a visit, didn't draft him. That's what happened there. 10s from Joe Linden. Mook and Cowboys. Toy Stories, I think is how it's pronounced there. Raul, Sela, Marvin, Kevin, Ecuador Man AOG says 69. That's a good one to end on from that perspective. 9.99, 8, 10, 10, 100, 7. By the way, I am very curious. I'm just going to pull it up because I didn't watch any of the Bills game. We can just go to the next segment here too while I ramble here. Producer Chris, you can skip that way in. I want to see how Osiris Torrance played. And I'm going to base it off of the PFF stats, but they're all consistent, so it's probably fine. He graded out pretty damn good in that first game. He graded out pretty good. Had a really good pass blocking grade. No pressures allowed. 23 snaps, though. So not a massive volume, but like he played pretty well. But yeah, the Zeke talk is over. Told you guys he wasn't going to come back, but yeah. Ezekiel Elliott to the Patriots. Bigger news, Zack Martin now back with the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll do some surprise cut candidates here coming up next on the Cowboys Report. This episode of the Cowboys Report is sponsored by RexMD. Get up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage at rexmd.com/chat. Leader in men's online wellness. We appreciate RexMD sponsoring today's show. Cowboys football is well and truly back as we've had a first preseason game. And although the cuts have changed again this year, from 90 to 85 to 80 to the full cuts down to just the one cut later on if the preseason wraps up, we will have you guys covered with everything going on around the Dallas Cowboys. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here. Let's talk surprise cut candidates. First up, KaVontae Turpin, who I would be surprised if he got cut, but it is a plausible. And again, I'm not advocating for any of these guys to be cut, but I do want to acknowledge your possible options here. Turpin is getting more run on offense in camp, which I think is a good thing. I want to see if he can become a viable piece that's not just relegated to being a special teams only player or on the field to run downfield fast one time per game. But the thing that Turpin has done best in his time in the NFL, returns, he made a big mistake in the first preseason game. He fumbled it, and that's not okay. I would be shocked, I tell you, if Deuce Vaughn does not make this Cowboys roster. Having two players, even at different positions, who are both extreme size outliers at their positions is rare in the NFL. You don't normally have that many exceptions, so it continues to raise some concern from that perspective in terms of how do you make it all work out in the end? Can you find a way to fit everybody together on the roster? There are four locks, the top four guys at receiver, then Fehoko, Turpin, and Brooks battling together. I would keep Turpin and Brooks myself. But if the Cowboys think Deuce Vaughn can handle your return duties, which I'm not sure he can, and knowing that the NFL has changed the return rules to make it less impactful than what it was last year, the value of Turpin isn't nearly as important. So if Deuce Vaughn, who's not getting cut, can handle the job and frees up a spot elsewhere, I still wouldn't do it, but I do want to acknowledge that as a potential possibility for this Cowboys team when it comes to their roster construction. So will KaVontae Turpin make the Cowboys roster? Y for yes, N for no. This will be today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Y for yes, N for no. Dante Fowler is next up here. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. We're starting off with some of the bigger names who are good players and will be bigger surprises here. But there is some money to be saved if others can emerge at the edge rusher spot. Fowler's a solid player. Don't get me wrong. The Cowboys have depth at defensive end, at edge rusher. A release would save $2 million. That's not an insignificant amount of money for a team that did just give Zack Martin a new deal. Look, Mike is making this team. Tank's making this team. I'm assuming, barring a surprise trade, Dorrance Armstrong makes the team. Sam Williams does. In particular, can Isaiah Land make this roster? They gave him some off-ball linebacker reps, and then they played him at really edge only in the preseason game. He was really impactful. If Land can do, 80% of Fowler's job, and you have him cheaper for 3 years, that's a decision you have to consider, because then you could keep somebody else or free up more money for other extensions. So name a player who you think could be a surprise cut for the Dallas Cowboys. Head down to the comment section and drop that player name or names in there. Jordan Lewis is next up here, the corner who hasn't been cleared yet. He had a really bad plantar fascia injury, which is something Lewis has said his doctor said was one of the worst ones he's ever seen, which red flags everywhere if you're not healthy, right? There's also money here. A release of Jordan Lewis, assuming there is no injury guarantee, which I don't think there is on his deal, would save $4.71 million. It's a lot of money. Man, there's your Zack Martin money, right? Plus you have Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, Deron Bland, Nashawn Wright, Eric Scott, Israel Mukuamu, Kelvin Joseph, all those guys can play corner for you. So you don't necessarily need to have Jordan Lewis, especially if you don't think he's going to be healthy this upcoming season. Now, if you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, you wish you had a more fulfilling sex life, you are not alone. You don't want this type of surprise to happen to you, right? That's why we're excited to tell you guys about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life, say goodbye to ED, head over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered, and if you have up to 90% off, only pay $2 per dosage. Our exclusive link in the comments section and the description. It's rexmd.com/chat. You were expecting Kelvin Joseph, but I put Nashawn Wright on this list because that'd be, I think, a little bit more surprising, maybe, although Joseph offers more special team stuff here. Nashawn Wright's banged up again. Seems unlikely that he will play in the upcoming preseason game for the Cowboys in Week 2. He's fighting for a roster spot. If you keep Jordan Lewis or Kelvin Joseph, in addition to your 4 guys that are locks, that math ain't mathin', folks. Nashawn Wright had a chance to play last year, and the Cowboys didn't like what they saw. No touchdowns allowed, but in the preseason last year especially, he suffered from the most extreme case of cheetah beta woozy syndrome I've ever seen, where you don't get your head around and your hands don't go up. Got to do at least one of those two things to make a play on the football. Wright has great size, great length. He's a Dan Quinn project, but he isn't quite there yet. Here's a surprise name. How about Peyton Hendershot, the tight end? He was the UDFA darling last year. Very impressive in camp, in the preseason. But how many times have we mentioned, or have you seen on Twitter, outside of maybe a couple, Peyton Hendershot making nice plays? The name we've heard more of at tight end is John Stevens, the rookie UDFA out of Louisiana, who fits a similar mold of that kind of dual threat tight end. It's like a pass catcher. Luke Schoonmaker's back. He's healthy now. Sean McEwen can block. If you were desperate to keep John Stevens, Hendershot's the overlap there. Now, I think you could get Stevens to your practice squad and you'd be fine, and it would be a true surprise name. But if Stevens keeps going for touchdowns in the preseason, tough to cut that guy. Malik Davis is next up here. I'm not cutting Deuce Vaughn. I refuse to do so. Based on the first preseason game weighing the most, I think Rico Dowdle had a better performance even despite the fumble. I was pretty whelmed by Malik Davis. 2 more games to go, and there are plenty of things to like about Malik Davis. I thought Dowdle Vaughn outplayed him, though, in that first preseason game. And I do think, by the way, if you were to cut Malik Davis, that you'd be able to get him back to your practice squad. Remember, folks, even if it's RB3 for your team, probably means they're RB4 for a team as well. You are able to get about 98% of the dudes you're worried about to your practice squad, or 90% of your guys to the practice squad. So don't freak out too much there. But I would rank Davis 3rd right now, knowing that it's going to change all throughout the preseason. So with that in mind, pick an RB2. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, MD for Malik Davis. Get those votes in the comment section. DV, RD, or MD. Neville Gallimore is next up here. And I will say, I thought he played pretty well. Probably one of his better preseason games against the Jags after the Cowboys were nonplussed with him last offseason, preseason there. But cutting him would save $2.74 million. With your depth along the defensive line, somebody's not making the team. Now, maybe it's a trade, instead of a movement in terms of the defensive line depth chart or defensive line on a deep depth chart. But you can't fit Osa and Mozzie Smith and Chauncey Golston and Neville Gallimore and Hankins and Fehoko if healthy, Fehoko, excuse me, and Bohanna. You ain't carrying 7 guys that can play DT for you. So somebody's got to go at some point. Jabril Cox is next up here. This is my boy. Always makes me sad, but he was a recent draft pick, fairly early-ish, but he's firmly on the roster bubble. And despite the pre-draft love for the player, what I think you were hoping to get out of Jabril Cox, I think we already saw a better version in his first ever game out of DeMarvion Overshown. So now it's okay. Van Der Esch is LB1, Clark's LB2, Overshown's LB3. Who's 4? Cox or Harper? And 4 might be all you need if you're going to have the option, if you had to, although I'd still keep 5, of moving a safety down or Micah Parsons back up. So because of that, I hope when we say hashtag Cox out, it means great success on the field and not taking it too literally where out as in off the team altogether. It's been a problem before. They did it with Bradley and I for years, which for a while, which broke my heart. Although they were right, I was wrong. Spam Cox out, though, in the comments section. How about your kicker? Only guy on the roster, he has the job, right? No. Brandon Aubrey is not guaranteed anything for this Cowboys team. Now, he was better last week during the kicks after we took over the full-time job. Also missed an extra point. Can't be doing that. We all have Brett Maher trauma from the playoffs, right? Got to be better there. Let's see how Aubrey plays moving forward. Finally, pick a safety. The math ain't mathing again, folks. You look at what this team has. You're not cutting Donovan Wilson. You're not cutting Jaron Kearse. You're not cutting Malik Hooker. There are 3 locks. Israel Mukuamu can play safety and corner. Seems like he's in a pretty good spot. But then there's Marquise Bell, who made the team last year. Tyler Coyle, who they like. And this year's little surprise impact player, Wanye Thomas. You ain't carrying 7 safeties. So somebody good who maybe you might actually be a bit worried about getting poached is not going to make your 53-man roster, again, knock on wood, barring more injuries. So all of that is worth monitoring moving forward. The big news of the day, the Zack Martin holdout is over. He has signed a new deal with the Dallas Cowboys. 2 years, $36 million. The new money versus what he was going to make last time is about $8.5 million bucks. That's where they're at from that perspective. So I'm fine with that. You still have plenty of money left over. From Mighty Ant 0215, do you think we sign a guard like Dalton Reisner? I would love it. Make him your backup. Because you're going to need your backup left guard at some point when Tyron Smith goes down. You kick Tyler out to left tackle. It's going to happen. I have no doubts about it. But I am not confident that they'd actually make it happen in the end. From Cali Cowboy, surprise cut, Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, RB2, Rico Dowdle, RB3. This super chat, by the way, came in right as we went to the Malik Davis surprise cut. So great minds, my friend. In terms of that one, it would have been perfect there. So cheers to you, my friend. Speaking of RB2, here are your options. It's the pin poll today. DV for Deuce Vaughn, RD for Rico Dowdle, MD for Malik Davis. Can no longer say EE for Ezekiel Elliott. He has signed with the Patriots a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. We'll see what the actual numbers look like there. Told you it wasn't going to happen. But here we are. 1-year deal for Zeke, who I still have in my Dynasty League, so at least he's on a team now. So there you go. DV, RD, or MD in the pin poll. And if you haven't already, please make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Free Cowboys videos every single day, multiple times per day throughout the week. It's not 2 every day, but 1.3 or 1.4 or whatever here. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/CowboysTV. We will have more videos for you guys tonight. We'll break down the Zack Martin signing. We'll mention Zeke too. Do a lot of it there. Hit that sub button right now.